It's the fourth today.
Yes, it's the fourth today. So we want to take this opportunity and say we officially open this meeting. We know you are ISA that has a history started being situated in the presidency. But you'll tell us more when you have time. I just want to get straight to the point and of this meeting and say you, Mema Metsi, welcome us. We are giving it to you to welcome us before we do anything. You can take over and welcome us. Bear in mind, we are live streamed. So don't worry, they'll do their thing. You can talk to us, yes.
Good afternoon, Honorable Chair and Honorable members of the Committee on Public Works and Infrastructure. As you can see with the slide in front of you, we are truly grateful. And this is the first time in our entire existence that we have the pleasure of welcoming the Portfolio Committee on Public Works and Infrastructure at the IDC, where we are housed as a program that reports to the Minister of Public Works and Infrastructure as well as to the President. We are housed here at the IDC, so we are very grateful that you could make time in your busy schedule to accommodate us. We are looking forward to sharing with you the work that Infrastructure South Africa is in with, the mandate that we are entrusted by the government of South Africa to discharge, and to discharge that mandate fully and diligently so. We've got a team of highly capable, very professional, highly skilled people sitting in ISA. Part of them are here. We are willing and in fact we are looking forward to this particular engagement. We are looking forward to engaging with yourselves, Chair. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mema Metsi. Start by introducing yourself and the team. Already you have introduced yourself, but can you introduce your team and we see who is who? That's why I said, let's come closer. Or you'll just stand up when they introduce.
So I'll start with Dr. Hubert Joy. He is the program manager and is responsible for the ISA Center of Excellence. So that's where the thought leadership component of ISA is coming from, all the research, the analysis, the agenda setting on infrastructure. That's the program that Dr. J is heading. And then next to him is Dr. Alvino Wilfred Prince. I nearly said Dr. Wilfred Prince. He is a program manager responsible for pipeline development. So all the projects that come through the window of ISA, they are sitting, and Alvino and his team are responsible for ensuring that those projects are progressing to a point where they are viable and they are predictable. That's Alvino. Behind him is the Deputy Director General, Barton Porto. He is the DDG responsible for Technical Services Office, TSO. So that's the Built Environment Specialists that sit within ISA that deal with infrastructure delivery and support to municipalities and other project owners and sponsors in relation to infrastructure delivery. Behind him is Mr. Charles Mabuza. Charles is the lead for the National Infrastructure Plan. And one of the slides here that we're going to speak to is around the work that we've done in terms of strategy and planning for infrastructure for the whole country. Next to him is Ms. Zuleika Hassan. She's the lead for governance and strategic planning at Infrastructure South Africa. So all the governance structures, all the reporting requirements, any work we have to do with the audit, that is here as the CAE, any reporting requirements from DPWI, the Presidency, Parliament, and so on. She's responsible for coordinating that work on our side. And then next to her is Sipiwe Njogu. He is the senior business case development advisor So as these projects move from one stage to another, from feasibility to bankability, Imperial is the person that is driving that work and ensuring that there is quality assurance in relation to that type of work, and the content of the business cases of all the projects that sit in. Next to him is Nomfundo Mbata. Nomfundo is the lead for project pipeline development. Both of them report to Alvino, and she does also pipeline development. Next to him, to her, is Mbasa Chombe. Mbasa, I think you may have seen him before. So here at the IDC, we are seen as a business unit, and the business unit must have a head. So Mbasa is the acting head of that technical task team. So that's what we are called here for accounting purposes. And he's responsible for, amongst others, ensuring that the operations of ISA here at the IDC are solid, and putting mechanisms are in place. And he's also the lead for frequently designed public assets. So all the work we've done around designing schools, clinics, police stations, and other public sites, he is the person responsible for that area of work. And then next to Mbasa is Sianga. So Wazi Sianga is the program manager responsible for state asset optimization. It's a legacy work coming out of public works. That's why this work, the program within ISA is underdeveloped. It's underdeveloped simply because it is dependent on what work is assigned to us from public works perspective or the PMTE. And then next to Sianga is brand spanking new Nshalati Baloi. She is the lead for infrastructure financing and funding. So she's the person that's going to be liaising directly with funding and financing institutions insofar as the business cases that we take care of are concerned. Next to her, now Nombulelo Nyatela. She is in the office of the head of ISA, and she's the chief director responsible for external relations and comms. So all the work we do around communicating to the outside world, stakeholder engagement, strategic partnerships, strategic stakeholder management, she's responsible for that both domestically as well as internationally. And then finally, Nohabisa Daniels. She's also brand spanking new, so we've poached her from National Treasury. She's the lead for infrastructure finance, and she's going to help us with just ensuring that the preparation and packaging of business cases are solid, and the financial structuring of those business cases are sound, and they will make us, these projects have got reasonable prospects of getting funding or financing from the. And then I'll introduce the graduates. Comfort Matoti there, and Tsaki Mabaleta. They are both part of the Young Graduates Program. So part of capacity building and just exposure to some of the work we do. I've asked only them to be in the room today, but otherwise we've got 5 others as part of the Young Graduates Program, the internship program at ISA. Thank you, Chair.
Oh. Members, a team of young people. We're very much impressed, even though it's a combination, but majority of your team members, it's young people. I think you are the only entity that when we entered, we will find young and alive team.
Thank you, Chair.
We hope you are going to do the honor. Is it your uniform?
Yes.
On a daily basis, or you are just wearing it
every
because
Tuesday. No, once a week, every Tuesday.
But today is Friday.
For you.
Why you chose Tuesday? Is there a story behind?
I wish there was a story behind. It was just.
But I also want to take this opportunity and welcome you back to the country. I thought you'll tell us a bit more about your visit, where you were. What is it that you brought back? Did you manage to get what you were going to fetch there?
Chair, we were actually just debriefing with Nombulilo just 2 hours ago about and just reflecting on the visit to the UK. We were there to support Minister McPherson because he was invited by the Deputy President as part of the working visit to the UK for a good 5 days. And the program was really set up such that they're engaging only financing institutions to position South Africa as a whole as an investment destination, and from our side to position South Africa as an infrastructure destination of choice. One of I think, the areas that we've been highly successful in is just reigniting interest around infrastructure projects in South Africa. We have we just don't have the booklet now, they're all finished. The Infrastructure Investment Handbook, Chair, we profiled mega projects in South Africa that are already bankable. So they're at a stage where they require funding and financing. We profile those projects in the water space, energy, some of the municipal infrastructure projects, etc., green hydrogen projects. In that booklet, we were very well received, and I think the DP was successful in positioning the fact that South Africa, or the government, is implementing an infrastructure-led economic recovery and reconstruction plan to put infrastructure at the center of government's strategic and overall objectives or priorities for the seventh administration. I think we've done exceptionally well. I'm very proud of what we're able to achieve there, Chair. And I know that the question you're going to ask is, but how much did you bring to South Africa? And I'll say, give us 3 months, just so we can work through to match the interests of the people we're sitting with the investors, with the project owners, and then we'll be able to give a better detailed account of exactly how much we're able to raise in relation to infrastructure projects. Thank you, Chair.
Emanating from our legacy report, we are aware that you don't have an act as ISA, but we are using an act that was infused when you were still the Infrastructure Development, or you call it the Presidential Infrastructure Coordinating Commission. We are no longer that. You are ISA, Infrastructure South Africa. Therefore, we are calling upon yourself, and maybe you need to also, when you present, talk to us. How far are you with drafting your own legislation, an act that will give you powers to execute your duties? While you'll be talking to your slide, we don't believe in reading the slides because you have sent the slides to us. What you need to do is just to give it a meaning, more meat when you'll be presenting your challenges, your mission and vision, not in a form of reading it, but in a form of practicality. How will it change South Africa? Bear in mind that the team have been well equipped on Tuesday, if not Monday, by the 3 gentlemen there when they were presenting on our capacity building, and it means they are gun blazing. Members of this committee are well equipped. They know what they are looking for. So they must be ready even themselves. When you are a teacher and you teach a student, later that student, when he or she excels, you must be proud. So be ready to get proper questions, the 3 gentlemen. I believe you were 3 or 2, but I think you were 3. Why am I mixing like you were 3? Okay. So with those few words, let me officially introduce myself. My name is Carol Piri, the Chair of Public Works and Infrastructure. We oversight over the department and its entities, and you are one of the entities. That's why we are here. I'm from Musina, Limpopo, where you are. The first time when you came, you proud yourself to say you have delivered the ring road, and I've seen it. I'm a beneficiary of the ring road. Ntate Mokoena, start introducing yourself.
Sure. My name is Sonoro Fanakwena. I'm a member of parliament and a member of this committee. I come from the Free State, but I reside in Johannesburg.
Good afternoon or good evening. I'm Malemu Kobe. I'm here for the committee member and I'm from Bobo.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Kevin McRae. I'm a member of the Portfolio Committee and I'm from the
Edwin Makweba.
Yeah.
My name is
Makweba.
I'm from
Makweba.
the member of this committee. Thank you.
Evening, good evening. Member of this committee. The person comes from
Is very hungry.
Mama Mate, kgale re tsamaya mona maloko a parlamentary nna gantsi wena kgale ba sepela ba ija bene ba tsena ka mo ba tshwere ke tlala tša o dijo di kae, but it's just a joke. Mare, I'm joking. I feel like Honorable Bare, you are not active because you are not seeing anything appetizing. We've got our support staff. I'll request Nola to start, then the rest will introduce themselves together with the department. I think you know your people that you report to. Nola, by the way, is it Ribuan? Yeah, Ribuan, we have a role man. They don't have an act, a legislation. You must also tell us how far, where have you engaged with them? An entity that does not be bound by anything, they can't enforce things with that proximity of saying they were in the office of the presidency. I think that's what they are using. But now they are no longer in the presidency. But let's allow you and your team to introduce yourself first. Then we'll request Nola and the team to introduce.
Thank you very much, Chairperson and the members of the committee, colleagues, my name is one from National Department of Works. I think I am here with almost my interest in the Works. I think helping this child.
Rory Buobondo, Nola.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. Good afternoon to yourself, honorable members, and the ASA colleagues, as well as the department. The name is Nola Matinisa. I support the Portfolio Committee on Public Works and Infrastructure in Parliament. Thank you very much. Sure.
Yes, I'm just waking up. Good evening, members. Good evening, colleagues from Public Works as well as from ISA. My name is Shoaib Denason and I'm the content advisor.
Nes?
Good evening. I'm Lisa, research portfolio.
Um,
My name is Akon.
Everyone, my name is Sinobuyo Chilena and I'm from broadcasting.
They actually don't broadcast themselves.
where's Jab?
That's what
There's
I
job at the back there.
checked.
Okay. We also have members of protection services. I don't believe in introducing themselves. We can't even pinpoint them for security reasons, but they are amongst ourselves. So you must also feel free. We are protected. Those ones, they will even carry you. If I say protection services now, you'll see drama. Then it's fine. Let me allow you to do your presentation. You only have 20 minutes maximum.
That's fine, Chair. I can do it from here because this microphone is sitting closer here. So we've got very few slides, Chair. If we go to the landing, so the presentation outline, we really wanted to respond to the issues that came out of the capacity building workshop that Chair, you chaired during the week to make specific reference to specific matters and also highlight certain areas as per your directive when you opened the meeting today. So if you look at the next slide, so ISA's value proposition is in the following, Chair and honorable members, is that we deal with the planning of the infrastructure investment program for the country. And that is encapsulated by the National Infrastructure Plan 2050, a high-level vision document that says what is the type of infrastructure that you need by 2050? What do we have now? What is the level or the level of infrastructure investment that we must have, and what is the quantum of funding and financing that will be required to do so? We've been able to do that. The second aspect is you move from the planning, you develop a bankable pipeline of projects to respond to that high-level planning document called the National Infrastructure Plan. We've been able to develop this bankable pipeline of projects. Then once we've done that, you need to source funding and financing for those projects, and that's the space that we also play in. And then, of course, from a technical services office perspective, we do support project owners and project sponsors on infrastructure delivery where required. From a thought leadership perspective, that's very important, Chair. If you want to build a world-class organization, you want to be at the cutting edge of everything infrastructure, you have to have a unit whose daily task is to look at the infrastructure landscape, to analyze the data that's coming out, look at the trends, look at what's going on globally, look at what is going on in South Africa, be able to provide statistical data analysis, evidence-based sort of research work. That's what we do to promote infrastructure in the country, and also to position Infrastructure South Africa as a source of information, of reliable information in the space. So that's what we do to support the infrastructure mandate that sits with the Ministry of Public Works and Infrastructure. In the next slide, this is who we are. We just took the high-level organogram to look at the different programs that report to the head of Infrastructure South Africa. we've introduced the colleagues previously, so we just wanted to put the faces next to their names as well. If we go down to the next slide. Chair, in terms of budget, you've got two sort of budget allocations in ESA. The first one is to support our own operations. So this year we received 102 million. Next year it is projected to shoot to 119 million to support our operations, meaning our salaries, being housed here, our equipment, everything that we have to do as an organization. That is our budget to support us, and it comes directly from the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure. Then there is a different budget allocation that's ring-fenced specifically for project preparation. And those are the numbers we have. This year we are receiving 79.1 million. In the next financial year, we are projecting that we'll receive 196.2 million to support with the project preparation work. As you know, the research shows that only 10% of projects that were conceived and go through the planning cycle actually get to a point where they go to financial close, or they do actually attract funding and financing. So we must deal with that value of death, they call it. And the preparation and the packaging of these projects is key to ensuring that these projects, they get through to a stage where they are viable, they are bankable, and they can receive funding and financing. So that's what we do. And the project preparation funds, they are ring-fenced specifically for that purpose. So we cannot hire staff, we cannot do events, we can't buy stationery, we can't do anything with that money. It has to be deployed strictly and only to project preparation. It is part of the conditions that were set by National Treasury, and they are enforced by CAE Rendani is here, as well as the DDG IGR in Public Works, as well as the CFO. If we move to the next slide. So we were asked to break down what the operations budget looks like and where do we spend our money. And as I said, we get this money in tranches every quarter. But overall, annually, we are expected to receive 102.8 million this year. We've broken it down to show you where we spend our money on, and that includes staff costs, travel, IT, and tools of trade, as well as just corporate marketing and other work that we do to promote infrastructure South Africa, as well as some breakdown around the money that we are receiving on project preparation. The total amount is just over 179 million, and we show you how many of these projects have already been contracted, how many of these projects are currently in procurement, and how much money we will be spending to support the top 12 priority projects for project preparation that the President announced in March this year. So that's how basically how the budget is structured. On this slide, Chair, we've asked why does infrastructure play a leading role in the economic recovery and reconstruction for South Africa? And we've tried to put that all in one slide. Obviously, there's a lot of work that sits behind it. Important thing is that infrastructure is a multiplier, is a good multiplier in any economy. It plays a role in terms of creating employment, especially during the construction of that asset itself. And any infrastructure that you put in place, it actually unlocks economic activity. Whether you build a road, it enables people to move from point A to B. It enables goods to be transported from point A to B. If you look at the health infrastructure, the more hospitals we build, we refurbish, we maintain very well. They enable the delivery of health services. Education is the same, because some of these projects are also sitting with ESA as programs. The more schools that we build that are are compliant with the norms and standards of Department of Basic Education, the better the learning outcomes we will have. If we have proper science labs, we've got proper ICT labs, we've got proper sports facilities in some of these schools, the better the learning outcomes will be. And generally or infrastructure itself leads to employment creation in the country. Now, where does Infrastructure South Africa sit in terms of that? Our role is really to deliver a quality project pipeline. And these are massive infrastructure investment programs. So they're not just small little construction projects of, I don't know, like just refurbishing a magistrate's a building. These are multi-year, multi-billion rand infrastructure investment projects that we are coordinating, we are facilitating, we are directly working with the project sponsors to make sure that these projects are progressing and are graduating to a point where they get money and the procurement can take place and these projects can be constructed on the ground. We play that leadership role. We provide technical and financial support for these projects as well. If we go to the next slide. Chair, we've also asked to recap on the National Infrastructure Plan. This is a very important document of government. Phase 1 has been approved by Cabinet 2 years ago. Phase 2 was approved by the President's PICC Council this year in March. We are focusing on priority sectors of energy, of water, of freight transport, as well as telecommunications. And then in phase 2, we're focusing more on human settlements, as well as passenger transport and municipal trading services, all of these, as well as social infrastructure. These are important sectors, and our own pipeline of projects, they really are responding to these priority sectors. They are responding to these sectors, as you see. No other project that is sitting in ESA is misaligned in terms of these sectors of the economy. If we go to the next slide. Chair, you specifically asked on the legislative part that at the moment we are using the Infrastructure Development Act as a basis for the work that Infrastructure South Africa gets to do, as a basis of delivering on our mandate. And obviously, because it was promulgated in 2014, so before Infrastructure South Africa was established, there is a need to amend that part of legislation to enable or to provide for the establishment of Infrastructure South Africa as an entity that reports to the Ministry of Public Works and Infrastructure. On our side, there are two requirements from National Treasury side. What are these requirements? The first is that you must have a business case that sets out what is this agency going to do, what's the rationale for establishing it, what service is it going to provide that any other entity does not provide. So what's its strategic value proposition? So that's what you need to be able to do first and foremost to develop that business case. The second aspect is that there must then be a legislation that supports that business case. So in this case, we opted to evolve the current Infrastructure Development Act, and we evolved even the naming convention, and we call the bill the Infrastructure Planning and Development Bill. It's very important because it also signals the space that ISA will play in on the planning, the preparation and packaging side, as well as ensuring that there is infrastructure development in the country. So where we are is that both the business plan, the business case, as well as the draft bill have been developed on our side. As mentioned sometime in the portfolio committee, is that we await the concurrence and the sign off of the Minister of Finance in terms of the both documents have been submitted to the Ministry of Finance for the Minister of Finance to consider and approve the business case as well as the founding legislation for the establishment of ISA as a public entity. There's also some level of concurrence that must be obtained from the Minister of Public Service and Administration in terms of setting up a new entity that operates at the national sphere of government. So those processes are underway, but from our side, the things that are within our control, Chair and honorable members, those two aspects have been addressed. The development of the business case that sets out what the strategic objectives of or the strategic value proposition of the entity is, as well as the legislation itself. In fact, we have been engaging with the Office of the Chief State Law Advisor, and we have received a pre-certification on the current bill. As mentioned, we are now waiting for the Minister of Finance and his team to consider those submissions and hopefully concur with us. Once that concurrence is obtained, we will work. We will go to the economic cluster of DGs as well as the cabinet committee, and then finally cabinet to gazette that bill for public consultation. Get the inputs from the public, repackage the bill itself, and hopefully get it approved by cabinet again, so that it can be introduced into Parliament. So that's where we are in relation to this. The next slide. These are some of the projects that we are working on, Chair. As mentioned, these projects, we do indicate in this slide the projects that have already been completed. We give you the name of the project, what sector those projects are, when did the construction start, when was the completion, what's the project value, as well as the province in which these projects sit. So that's the information that we are sharing with members of the committee. Chair, as mentioned, item number 5, that Musina Ring Road, SIP 21. So all of these are strategic integrated projects that we've been able to facilitate and give impetus as well as momentum behind these projects and get them to a point where that construction is completed. In the next slide, we are showing the projects that are currently in implementation. Again, we show you the value of these projects. They total 163 billion at the moment. We show you where the province where these projects are being delivered. And we also show you the timelines for the completion of these projects. Remember, these are mega projects, and so they really are quite huge, and they are being implemented multi-year. We do indicate the timelines for these projects and by when they are expected to be completed. But as these projects are implemented on a quarterly basis, we do track and trace where they are. We do receive the reports. We do conduct regulatory unblockings where required to get these projects to proceed as per schedule. In the next slide, we were asked to also focus on water because this is now a big priority of government. Government has dealt with the load shedding part. We are now looking in terms of electricity. Now the next issue that we need to be dealing with is water infrastructure, and we do indicate what the challenges with water is, especially when you look at the capital budgets that have been given to municipalities, to water boards over a period of time. There is capacity constraints of the funding of those projects. There is the credit worthiness of some of the municipalities and water boards are not, are not at the state where they can borrow, they can pledge or do anything like that. So there's need to collaborate with other entities that are driving water infrastructure investments. And one of those stakeholders from our side is the Department of Water and Sanitation. a key and strategic partner in the work that we do, as well as water boards, TCTA, and others. We work as well very closely with the infrastructure fund. In fact, most of these projects we have packaged them as blended finance projects, candidate projects, because they require some level of de-risking, some level of financial support from National Treasury, but we can use that a small fiscal support to leverage private sector financing and crowding private sector financing for these projects. This slide is really to show the committee that you get comfort in the fact that we are prioritizing water sector in terms of the projects that we are supporting currently that sit within Infrastructure South Africa. In the next slide, here, Chair, one of the things that we really want to do is indicate that there is, ISA has got also limited funding when it comes to project preparation funding. We only get roughly 200 million from National Treasury each year, and we will not be able to support projects, more than 12 projects each year in terms of that project preparation. And so we started with that work this year. As I said, the president this year launched the top 12 projects that we are supporting from a project preparation perspective. We are now also, we have issued a guideline. It's live on our website last week, or on Monday this week. It's closing on the 7th of December this year. We are going out to indicate to project owners to submit their application for their projects to be considered for project preparation and funding in the next financial year. So as part of just instilling discipline, structure, and a method of work around project preparation, it will also help us with the expenditure. The CAE, she monitors what we do with this money every month, every quarter. The CFO at DPWI, National Treasury on the other, they really want to make sure that this money gets to be spent in totality to support national priority projects for the country. So we will be looking at these applications as they come through. We will apply a proper economic modeling to indicate what of these projects give us the highest impact on GDP, which ones will give us more jobs, which ones will encourage localization, and which ones will really generate, unlock value in the economy and society in general. So that's what this slide is trying to indicate to Honorable Chair and the members. In terms of the next slide, just here we give you a snapshot of two of the projects that currently are part of the top 12 that the President launched in March this year at the CSA. So one of them is Rooiwal Wastewater Treatment Works. As you know, Chair, the challenges in the water sector are threefold. Is one, we must build more dams, catchment areas, get more dams to be built for bulk water supply. We must address issues of non-revenue water. We must also address wastewater treatment plants, which have deteriorated over a period of time, and they now need to be expanded to allow for potable water to be made available, and in turn to unlock investments, especially in the human settlements sector. So we are supporting Rooiwal Wastewater Treatment Works at City of Tshwane. It's a project valued currently at 1.4 billion rand. We are working with the City of Tshwane on preparing a bankable business case for this one. And then the other is Amatola bulk water augmentation. It's a series of 4 or 5 projects within Amatola bulk water, the water authority there. And we are taking 2 of these projects. So every year we'll help them with preparing and packaging these projects to make sure that they can get money to support the provision of bulk water in the communities in the area in the Eastern Cape. If we go to the next slide. So we've been asked, this is the last slide, we were also asked, Chair, that Infrastructure South Africa must actually explain how are these, what's the process flow for funds, yes, this one. So this is the part that Infrastructure South Africa is responsible for. As mentioned, Chair, we deal with the planning and preparation. So when a project comes through the window of ESA, there is a validation committee that sits. That validation committee is all these DFIs, main DFIs, Infrastructure Fund, New Development Bank, the BRICS Bank, and others. They look at these projects, they decide, okay, this project meets the ESA criteria, this project can be onboarded, can form part of the ESA pipeline. Once we have prepared and packaged these projects, and they are ready for funding or funding decisions, we submit them to National Treasury. If these projects are PPPs, if these projects they require 100% fiscal allocation, if these projects are blended finance projects, they go into the National Treasury space. We submit those on an annual basis through a structure called Budget Facility for Infrastructure and other budgeting processes within National Treasury. So once the decision to fund the project is made, whatever quantum of funding that has been asked for from National Treasury, and that money gets to be made available, that money goes directly to the accounting officer or to the department, whether it's Department of Water and Sanitation, it's Department of Communications and Digital Technologies, whoever who was the applicant, that money gets to be allocated via the budget vote to that particular municipality or the water body, water authority, or SOE, SOC, or national government department. And ESA, from there on, ESA is not involved, and any procurement that gets to be done, if you press the next, any procurement that gets to be undertaken, it's not ESA that gets involved. ESA does not get any money that accrues from that funding that has been unlocked. In whatever form or shape, it goes directly to the accounting officer. That accounting officer undertakes or goes through a procurement process to onboard a service provider who then constructs that particular project. On our side, we will monitor the level of implementation of that project. We will also troubleshoot. If there are any authorizations that are required to expedite the implementation of that project, that's what we do. If there are visas required, for example, we get involved. If there is a WULA application that's outstanding, we get involved. If there's an EIA application that is outstanding, we get involved. If it's a wayleave application, anything that's got to do with municipality, regulatory authority, economic regulator, we really help the project sponsor to unlock those processes to fast track the implementation of those projects. So this slide was really to show that we deal with the planning and preparation side. Once this planning and preparation is done, and we believe that this business case is solid, is viable, is bankable, we forward that information into the National Treasury space, and National Treasury is responsible for the financing appraisal to determine whether this project is indeed viable or bankable and how much money it can be supported with from National Treasury side. Once that money is made available, that money goes through to the project owner. If it's Department of Water and Sanitation, it goes through to that. And the example we wanted to show here is Welisizwe Rural Bridges Program. We helped the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure to unlock 2.9 billion rand for this program 2 years ago. But when that money comes through from National Treasury, it goes to the Department of Transport, National, who then through the PRMG, yeah, roads and maintenance grant. It goes through to the departments of roads and transport in the provinces, who then gets to spend that money to get the services of to construct the bridge, etc., etc. It's just to show you that none of this funding that gets to be unlocked by ISA goes to Infrastructure South Africa. We also don't do any procurement in relation to these projects. That process in terms of the PFMA and the constitutional construct, it rests with the accounting officers in that space. So this would be the last slide, Chair, just to indicate that over a period of time, we then do what we call benefits realization to see really what value that project would have unlocked in the economy and society after it has been constructed. So that's where we are. That's where we leave it for now, Chair. We thought that it would be short and succinct, the presentation.
Instead of just focusing on the projects.
Thank you. Members, there is a report. Bear in mind, remember, there were questions and expectations that you have sent to the two gentlemen when they were present. If you are still interested, you can repeat them. Or automatically, because you were writing that about, you know the outstanding questions, you'll still respond on them.
Yeah, they can help.
If there are many, therefore, because of time, you know, you are scheduled to come to Parliament. We'll give you a date. We'll do a proper and a thorough, detailed one. Let me start with Mankosi. When you are done, Mankosi, you'll request if you are leaving, or do you want to say something? Mankosi has requested to be excused. She's driving back home because it's already late. If you are happy with the presentation, we can excuse you. You'll see them in faith. Travel safe, Mankosi.
Marcos, Pamela comforted just to walk me back to you.
Okay. Can I start at the back? Menier.
One was a way more one, but the second part, a little bit more, not very fun.
Are you done? Let's.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted, I think similar to Honorable Marais, I would like to really zone in about a little one with how maybe how ISA finds how ISA finds funding and then takes it to the implementing part. Now, with the rainfall water project, Amatola is, I think, particularly problematic. Particularly because there are governance issues in the water board of Amatola. There's massive corruption. And my worry is, as a planning body, when you take it to the implementation body, without necessarily using a mechanism to deter the implementing body from corruption or corrupt activities, I think that's my issue. That do we have mechanisms in place to ensure that the water body, the implementing body, will then use the money correctly? And I do understand that you have scaling for debottlenecking purposes throughout the life cycle of the project. But my issue is that there's money then suddenly goes missing somewhere, where does then accountability fall in this? I think I'm interested in that. Also, I just wanted to ask, as a simple point of entry and development for bankable projects, you have a whole list until 2050. You have envisaged exactly what your priorities will be until 2050. Have you done a skills audit to see, with the plans that you have, will we have the necessary capacity and human resources to sort of make sure that your plans don't end up in planning phase, but are implemented and they're done so by South Africans and South Africans that have been capacitated through sort of, educational programs of vocational training and TVET colleges. How are you partnering and marrying higher education institutions to ensure that your plans come to fruition and they're done so by capable young South Africans? And also, I just wanted, so the president assented into law South African National Water Resources Infrastructure Agency like a few months ago. And they primarily also sort of function like you to they look for funding, they plan for huge infrastructure projects. So I was just wondering, in that regard, how do the two marry? Is that not a duplication of efforts? We already have a bloated cabinet. It would be unfortunate then to have a department with another agency, with an ESA as well, that does sort of the same function with the agency that's in the department. That's all from my end. Thank you.
Gwen.
No, Chair, because I'm still trying to grapple with understanding, but I do have a request on the shutdown of the Alliance project in the state. If it's possible to get the details of that, because there's massive implications for the end user. If we can get details, that's it.
But
Thank you very much, Isa. It was really a good presentation. And I think a lot of what we requested has been covered. And I think those that asked the questions are not here to get the answers. But I just wanted to ask.
you're so
and
cruel.
thank you for touching on where you are at with the legislation. I think we're very excited to receive it on Parliament's side. Just one comment around your indication of only 10% of the projects that get evaluated being or becoming bankable. There's so many government departments and entities that are doing triple Ps and such. I'm just wondering whether or not best practice is being shared and learned amongst all the different entities. Because if you're given a 200 million rand budget for the year to do project preparation, that means only 20 million of that is really sort of seeing itself through to a place where it's bankable. And yeah, I think that's really it from us. Thank you very much.
Gelang.
No, thank you so much, Chair. I think once I came to the leadership of Easter. At times, Chair, when looking at Easter,
90% done before, okay.
some one is not
We cannot
it's dealing with the 10%
yeah,
of the infrastructure development.
even next week we can find the one
As such, at times, can confuse the rules if the mandate is not been played. But in the main is that they are playing a very high game.
Very hard.
Very high. It's hard. And the chair must say that instead that there is a program or a project that you are beneficiary of in your progress. I must also say that I'm beneficiary of the Sigaba. Maybe you might not know what a Sigaba bridge is. It's a high bridge in Africa that is being built along the coast. and within a radius of, if I'm not mistaken, 15 kilometers. That also building material over research. And those two projects alone, let alone that there were hiccups when they started, have projects that were literally a special tail bridge affected by what we call the construction markets. And they stood for a year. But in terms of the impact that they are already making to the people in that area is visible. Let me get straight to questions. I think the first issue that is important is legislation and policy. Because the policy are the firewalls of the work that we're doing. We spoke of the infrastructure development bill, and we said that there is a need for it to be reviewed on this product and research. Have you started the process? If yes, how far it is? The other area that requires the not is the department, the question I think one asked. You cannot afford an institution like this to have the core leadership on acting position. They will have to inform us how far they are to make sure that we've got a stable and leadership that is acting on a full-time basis, on the basis that the mandate is quite high and requires the authority, full authority to say so. The area I want to speak to on also is the question of the National Infrastructure Plan 2050 and the NDP Vision 2030. Are there any linkages on such visions? The last one is only, which is, I think, is not even a high question, small question. You said the money comes out of the money usage comes out of conditions, which, by the way, I think I support them, but or restrictions. But now I began to want to know, where do you get the money just for what I can refer it as essentials? Remember that man with restrictions cannot do other things that we have to do. Where do you get budget for such? Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you, members. As a member, I also have a question. One is that Mema Metsi and the team, you gave us a high level of explaining the 12 or 13, or you said 12 mega priority projects. My question is that, how do you identify those 12 projects? What informs you? Which criteria do you use? And how does it link with the IDPs of the municipalities? How does it assist? Besides being, as my colleague says, it's a high level. You are a high level project planning and preparation design. But then it must also talk to the IDPs of municipalities. Then how do you identify, what criteria do you use to say these are priorities besides the water issue, which is it's a common denominator in the country? All of us, we are talking about water, we are talking about roads, but unless otherwise you are telling me you're only dealing with those only. But if you have a major project that will address the issues of a district, I believe even in your planning, you must measure with the district development model, because you are from the presidency, meaning you understand that model better, and it will assist you to plan. Also, I'm not getting anything. The second question is that you You are working in partnership with other departments, but not yours, the one that oversees you. Why am I saying this? From yesterday in their presentation, they were telling us ISA is part of the Silver Corp project. You have never said anything about it yourselves. You only, and they are saying you only play a role of making community understand. Therefore, it's not your own design. It's not your own plan. Maybe you need to make us understand from that level. Because we believe it's a major project. It brings different entities and private in one place, which makes it a beautiful complex already States SA has occupied. Then where does it put you in? The only thing that I heard yesterday, I could not even question because they kept on saying ISA. But when they said ISA, they were always saying assist us in addressing issues of community, as if you are a ward councillor. I don't know whether it was heard by myself only.
I got it.
As if, you know, the way they were putting you. So we really wonder, how are you working? Are you really entrenched in the department, or you are still there in presidency? I don't know, do I make sense? Mama Meet, do I make sense? What would question yak? Yes. You know, with your planning, preparations and designs, are you, yes, you have said it, you are partnering, it's a model of a private partner, but you are mentioning a lot of international investors than local ones. Are you saying you don't want to, the local ones are the small players in a private sector? Are you, maybe the other question from my side is that, can you do the planning and the preparation and design for private sector within the country, not out those who are bringing money or your investors from abroad, but let's say it's a big company that wants to develop.
Yeah.
And that big company gives you an idea to say, we have money, we want to invest. Will you assist? Is that your mandate, or your mandate is only to prepare and design only government projects? We want to understand your role. On the other hand, when you came to us previously, we even told you there's a confusion between yourself and other entities. And you tried to unpack, you are not an implementing agency. IDT and DBSA, they are implementing agencies. And there's the other part that was raised by Honorable Kobe, seems like there's a competing duties. Both of you are under the government. How do you match each other? How do you collaborate? Remember, Metsi, we met different entities today. You are the fourth one. And yesterday we met the other ones. I know you speak about match or mega, which means we are dealing with something that is too big, that I cannot even explain myself. Then it tells you are creating jobs, you are growing the economy, and the infrastructure of the country will be designed in a special way. It's not ordinary, it's not those small ones. But my question will be, what role do you play in assisting the small ones who are in this environment of infrastructure per se? How do you then chip in trying to assist them to see things in your visionary way, because you are dealing with the infrastructure of the country, and this infrastructure, it must be a monument. It must, some of them, they must be your heritage site and all the stuff. It must suit the level of your thinking, your design, and your planning. And we avoid what happened to other construction sites. I know you don't deal with construction, but you must play a role on redirecting how the construction and infrastructure area is managed. Where do you come in to avoid what happened? I'll give you an example, and since today, I only talk about two things: your George matter and telecom towers. That is within your department. Are you planning? I told Ndate but that how are we in the near future not to have what we are having there? And you know what? It's a thorny issue, that thing of telecom towers complex. As you are planning the infrastructure of South Africa, how are you going to assist us as government to avoid such things? Because when you plan, when you prepare, therefore, how do you monitor this project of yours, or they must come to completion? And we avoid such things. The maintenance part, you are only talking about planning and preparing your design, but you are not talking about the maintenance. Maybe you must feed the end user with a maintenance plan. Maybe you must feed public works that is responsible for infrastructure of the country to deal with how to deal with maintenance plan to avoid wasteless and fruitless expenditure of telecom towers. The same applies to, you know, it seems like everybody can do as they wish in South Africa. That's why you have a case of George. As the planner, as the preparator, as the designer of infrastructure, how will we avoid what happened in George? Maybe let me pause there. You can respond, give it to your, and we'll wish to hear the new faces, fresh minds. Allow them to respond. Isn't it you work as a team? It cannot be your show only and Libobat and Professor. Allow young people to respond. We must get the capacity. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Honorable Chair. And
Yeah. So now you are 1.346. Okay.
we'll come back to
Voice nyana Mema Metsi, and there is a feeling amongst my members that by 20 past you must be done responding, which means you have 28 minutes. Then the 10 minutes will be wrapping up.
Yeah, let's start there, the executive summary upload, and it's to highlights that, and then I will respond on the issues around the bill. Simply on the IDPs, how to deal with the IDPs and issues like that, and DDM, district development, and also what are the agencies that we are engaging with on the local vis-a-vis international DFIs, and then we'll deal with some of the over to you, Alvin.
Thank you. Thank you. Just on the start of the supervisors, you're actually meeting on the water and sanitation and the status of violence. Once we have that report, there's nothing preventing us from sharing that information. We hope to be a final report from the team. So that report is the commission presentation. If that's okay.
So you're not part of the planning?
We're not part of the planning. We get the quarter report that is reported to us on the 7th, and that is where the water team ourselves, with the Department of Water and Sanitation and the TCTA is sitting, and then they come and they present to us what's the status and where they are. That report we can share with the portfolio committee once we receive it. That's on the Lesotho Highlands one. And the Amatola one it's quite big. The Amatola one's got quite a few phases that we're going through. I'm just going to give you a few here. There's the supply of the water to areas exclusively to Tanzania, Houston, and Newlands. There's also the areas situated west of King Williamstown that will be supplying water to those areas as well as the Amatola District Municipality. There's various areas like the Lane water located between East London and King Williamstown and supplying water to urban areas within the DCMM and Amatola District Municipality as well. And then there's also the Albany Coast bulk water supply system that is also being looked in, as well as Binfield water supply system, which is situated around 11 kilometers north of the system, and the Binfield Park Dam. The plant was recently upgraded from a capacity of about 4.8 megaliters to 12 megaliters per day. So these are all part of the feasibility study that we are doing now. And maybe part of that, I want to address the Amatola governance issue as well. The funding that comes in and the project preparation funding that comes in is managed by us as ISA. We do not disperse the funding to the client, to the project sponsor. So we appoint the service provider. We actually manage the whole process with the value chain up to the front. So that money never goes through, because the money comes from National Treasury to DPW, and from DPW to us. There's an accounting issue that needs to be looked into. The AG will come back and say, okay, how did you spend the money? The only way we can manage it is if we manage it from ourselves here within ISA. So once we get the deliverables on these projects, then only we pay the service providers. We bring Amatola in to sit on the evaluation committee and be part of the process of electing the best service provider. But they are one of various others. There's a technical team that's part of it as well, and others that's a part of the evaluation committee. So it is not projects is selected and now we give the money to Amatola to implement. Just using Amatola as an example. We actually do the implementation. We work with them up to the point of getting that project to a bankable feasibility. And then from there, we take that project through whichever funding options we think the project best fits, whether that goes into unlocking funding through the budget facility for infrastructure at National Treasury, or working closely with the likes of the infrastructure fund and getting structuring a blended approach and crowding private sector funding to come through. So this funding never flows through to Amatola. Part of our due diligence process is actually looking into the institutional and governance process as well. So in order to put that bankable study or to put that business case through to National Treasury, they ask us, what is the institutional state of the municipality, what's the governance in place, and we need to put all of that as part of the assessment through to National Treasury as well. So we are a bit, I don't know what's the word, we're very, I want to say authoritarian in terms of how we spend the money and being very focused in the delivery on those projects. I think that's all from my side, Mamitsi. I'm not sure if there's anything else you want to mention. Can I just add as well, Chair, you asked about the linkages with Department of Public Works and the projects that we work on. If I go back to the Salford project specifically, yes, they will use the social facilitation as how we assisted them or not, because at that time, Salford was standing still because of the construction mafia that was coming in and a lot of issues that came in. We brought in the social facilitation specialists on board to unlock the project so it actually can go and to be delivered again.
That is just one of the items. There's other items that also came through from a licensing perspective and applications that had to be done as well, where we came in and then supported them on those things just to unlock some of those regulations as well. We are not excluded. One of our team members, the bank, actually works very closely with them and follow the process and the project throughout to make sure that if there's any challenges or regulatory issues that comes up, which we can assist them with, we unlock and jump in to support them on that. Salvacorp is just one of the programs. There's another project that we work with the department on, which is the IRRF program, is the Integrated Energy Program that the department is also running on. Massive program. It went out to market a few months ago with very limited bidders coming through. It's need to go out to market now. Okay, in fact, I'm the project officer from ESA side. They requested that ESA act as the project officer in that project. And we, ourselves, ESA, GTEC, and the technical advisor, all work together with the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure to see, and this is a PPP project, that we see how we can actually get the project out to market now again to drive this infrastructure program for energy efficiency of public sector buildings that we're working on. So there is quite a number of alignment in terms of working together with the department and trying to drive their projects as well. That's from my side. Let's see.
You asked that on the selection criteria for the top 12. Just as an introduction, any project that's registered on the Alliance to National Priorities in the third entity. And within that process, of evaluating projects, also consider substitution provision. That's where we identify multi-stakeholders, issues between the principles of government. The slide which was presented earlier, Chair, it really went down, it did a deep dive into the selection criteria and our approach in the current financial year. We've launched a bid window, which is live on our website. It has a guideline which considers the selection criteria. The key criteria considers national priority classification, which then is defined in terms of our strategic case, potential funding modalities, that speaks to our financial case, project readiness, that speaks to our management case, job creation potential, which acting head spoke about earlier, comparative advantage of the sector, that's the location quota, the growth performance index of the sector, the GPI scores, and the economic impact of the project that it will have. And this aligns with ESA's 5-case model, and that's the selection criteria which we utilize, Chair. Thank you.
I thought you're gonna go deeper in your website. You said there's criteria, but what type of people must, even though they can go to the website? As we speak now, we are live streamed. South Africans are listening. Who must apply? Just have a slight explanation. Don't take much, but who are the people who must apply? Because you are different from tender processes. So you must find our people are confusing yourself with tender. Mameti has just said, we don't do the tender process, but can you try to a second, Nyana?
You want to go? Chair, all public sector entities are allowed to apply for information. Private sector also apply
Of the public sector entity to apply for those programs. When it comes to municipalities, we actually encourage them to look at it from a programmatic perspective when they submit their application. So if it's a water program that they want to submit and that they're looking into, submit the water program as part of the process, because then it becomes easier for us to sell that program and to work with it and get it a phased approach in terms of how we structure this. What we found is that National Treasury don't necessarily look at projects that's below R1 billion. And that is our biggest challenge when we go out there. What we got right with National Treasury is to move them away from looking at programs at the 3 billion rand and actually bringing them down to programs at the 1 billion rand mark as well. So now we can take water programs, electrification programs, or just the municipal program that links from, say, for example, a corridor approach in implementing specific infrastructure programs. That can all come together in a program that can be submitted from a municipal perspective for submissions. But most of the municipalities, like the Amatola one, is a good example of 5 or 6 programs in one that is being put together and submitted for project preparation support that is required. But it's all state-owned entities, all public sector departments who requires infrastructure support, capacity support. They can all submit. In fact, our Infrastructure South Africa website, it will make it live, but on all the slides, even if you click on it, you can get into the website. You'll see the guideline is quite clear, and all of the information is also available on the website as well. We will also make it, I think, the announcement on Tuesday, more available to everyone as well.
Yes. At least. It's not. It must just be strong, like mine.
Okay. So I was asked to address the question on development agencies in South Africa domestic versus the foreign agencies. And since we started, myself and Mabisa, we started the role on the 15th of August, and I can confirm that we actually are engaging with South African and local institutions, particularly institutional investors, and we also have the South African Venture Capital and Private Equity Association, which represents majority of the private equity firms in South Africa, institutional investors and lawyers. This includes Alexandra Forbes, Cliff, Dicker Hofmeyer, Deloitte, ENS Africa, Harith, Klaisani Capital, Investec, Mahlako, Majors, the Nedbank Private Equity 91, the Public Investment Corporation, RMB, Sanlam, and also it also includes small boutique private equity firms such as Third Way. So overall, I can say that as much as on the presentations we showed foreign and international multilateral development banks and DFIs, we are engaging with the local financial institutions, and also, as Mameti showed, with this, I think it's the second gate the first gate where the South African Venture Capital and Private Equities Association is a member. So this shows the transparency and robustness and involving South African players within the validation of the infrastructure pipeline for Infrastructure South Africa. Thank you.
Yes. Just.
Greetings to the portfolio committee members. So much. I'll speak to the part of the question that was raised about skills audit. So here, I think it also links to the matter that was raised about the relationship between ISA and DPWI as a department. So we are essentially a program at this stage within the department. So our work that we do is linking or links directly to the department's APPs. And one of the things that the department has done recently in collaboration with the Human Science Research Council and also the National School of Government was to do a skills audit within the department, looking at infrastructure needs, what's it called, projecting into the future. So that has been done at this point, and there was input or contribution that came from ISA directly. But by and large, I mean, some of the, what's it called, the recommendations that came out of that audit is is that there's a need for more skills within the infrastructure space in the areas of leadership and management, financial management, and also on the technical side, professionals such as engineers, spatial planners, property and construction management and maintenance professionals, policy development specialists, and program management specialists. So that just talks to some of the skills that have been identified, which would then support the infrastructure delivery mandate going into the future. Thank you, Chair.
Please. Oh, there's a hand this side. Ataku.
I think on my side, I just wanted to just address the question around private sector support, because one of the questions that was asked is that when private sector submits a project, do we support them or not? I think it's, in terms of the project preparation facility, we are supporting public sector projects. The understanding is that that money emanates from the fiscus, and therefore it's required to be used towards supporting public institutions in developing public infrastructure that will sort of benefit society, and that's the reason why we devote that funding towards that. I think it's also important to mention that we do support private sector projects in terms of unblocking and unlocking regulatory requirements that might be outstanding for them. So that's also some of the support that we provide, as well as when MM was speaking about the investment book, we do also showcase investment potential that might be there for private-led projects. An example of that is the green hydrogen program, that's being undertaken, IPPs as well. So that's the kind of support also that's provided for private sector projects that register with ESA. And then just also to add on to the corruption aspect of it, there was a question around how do you sort of mitigate against corruption during also implementation and planning and the like. So when it comes to implementation, I think it's important to note that the funding flow that MM was explaining was that the funds flow through the grant, and by so doing, it sort of vests a responsibility on the line departments who are transferring officers to oversee that budget on a continuous basis. They also have the authority to withhold any funding in the instance that they feel that there is fruitless or wasteful expenditure, as well as we also take into consideration that once the funds flow through the treasury and the like, the prescripts of the PFMA and the ability to hold accounting officers accountable sort of kick in. And I think it's important to mention that it's a whole ecosystem when it comes to managing corruption and trying to deter people from maladministration of funding. And that's why you sort of also have that flow of funds. You do want those conditions of the grant to kick in. You do want to vest that authority over the sector department, because we understand that they know the ins and outs of all these institutions that are actually implementing. Thanks, Chair.
Powerful voice. Yeah. At the back.
Thank you very much, Chair and members. I wanted to add the question that relates to the linkages between the NDP as well as the NIP. I think Member Messi, when she was presenting, she spoke about, the NIP itself being a framework that then assists us to, achieve the objectives of the NDP and the constitutional objectives of employment, growth, and those kind of things. Apart from that, the work we do, or the NIP itself, dovetails, as she indicated earlier, in other processes like the DDM, you mentioned it earlier, the National Strategic Special Development Frameworks, and other processes of government. So there's definitely some linkages in the work that we are doing, and contributing to socio-economic development and the growth of the economy itself. Thank you, Chair.
But aye. Can you do your closing remark? The two. Luana Pela Rofa, because you are leading, but Department, can I respond on your behalf? The issue of acting, it's not your prerogative as officials, it's the prerogative, colleagues, of the minister in consultation with the president. So therefore, we are not going to entertain that. You may do your closing remark.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. I believe that we have covered most of the questions that have been asked. I think the homework we are taking, Chair, is the directive you are giving us around rethinking our space and our role insofar as infrastructure delivery and supporting small municipalities, the secondary cities, at the DDM level, etc. We really need to go back and conceptualize how that package of the product or the service or the offering must look like insofar as that is concerned. And I think it will necessitate that we engage your colleagues at the Municipal Infrastructure Support Agency, the colleagues at the Infrastructure Delivery at DBSA, some colleagues at IDT, etc. Just so we just find alignment, that we don't duplicate resources, we don't duplicate work in supporting those municipalities. I think we've given us that homework, Chair. Hopefully we should be able to come back to you with something a little bit more crystallized and around that area of work. And then the second homework we are taking is around the thing on what is ISA's role insofar as buildings and properties of the state are concerned. And this whole work around revitalization of these state assets, ensuring that they are revenue generating, they don't decay further. We're bringing in private sector support and private sector participation in that regard. It's also something that we won't be able to respond to now until the strategy itself from the department is finalized and we can see where ISA can plug in that space. I think that's the homework we are taking. And something that we need to think about, I think from our side is, so when we do the projects, we measure the high-level economic indicators, jobs, localization, GDP impact, and so on. But I'm hearing from Honorable Kobe and others is maybe start thinking about where these issues around skills, the people that are delivering the projects, how do we measure who is actually involved in this project, the artisans, so sort of the skill sets that are deployed to these projects, and how do we aggregate that information and feed it back in terms of our own reporting around those projects. I think is something that we'll also think through how that is going to be done. At the moment, we really just look at the high level, data sets insofar as these projects are concerned. And then Honorable Delanga, thank you so much for the good words and encouragement. I think we come up here, Chair, feeling better that we go back and every single day we come to work and we are dedicated to the work that we must do. So on the bill, what is the status of that bill? As mentioned, there are two requirements for ISA to be established as a public as an infrastructure agency. The first one is that there must be a business case. The second one is that there must be legislation. Both these from our side are done. There is currently the infrastructure planning and development bill, which succeeds the IDA. The IDA is the Infrastructure Development Act. We have obtained a pre-certification from the Office of the Chief State Law Advisor in relation to that bill, that it satisfies the requirements, the legal requirements, and it is aligned. What is it? Constitutional master, they call it. That is done. What is outstanding is the Minister of Finance to consider the submissions from the Minister of Public Works and Infrastructure. Once that concurrence is obtained, we should be able to go out to the public, to gazette that bill for public consultation, finalize it, take it back to cabinet again, and hopefully be able to introduce it into Parliament. So that's where we are in terms of that work. From our side, we've done everything possible, Chair, that is within our own control and our own responsibility. That has been done. The Minister has written to the Minister of Finance. We now await feedback and concurrence from the Minister of Finance. Thank you, Chair. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We are at the tail end of our program, actually, of our week program. The 3 days of capacity building and the 2 days of oversight. We want to take this opportunity to appreciate your time and effort. We are aware it's after hours, but you managed to sit and wait for us and be patient and deliberate further with us. One thing that we are going to request you, Nola, when they come to our portfolio meeting, then the next one where they will be called, we request them to come and present on the 5 case model, the one that you said it boldly. We want you to deliberate further and give us more meat on it. It sounds like it's a good document, an implementable thing that will change the lives of South Africans. We are more interested with how does it change the lives of South Africans. And again, you must give us measures that will curb corruption. You just touched even on the issue of Salvacop, on the issue of construction mafias. How do we then assist the entire industry in curbing this corruption, extortion, and also to how we can call it these criminal elements? So in our next session with yourself, we'll be expecting that. But I want to take this opportunity and officially wants to appreciate your effort and other entities together with the department the whole week as we were busy bothering doing our oversight. You bared with us, you respected us, you understood the mandate of the National Assembly and our committee in particular. We are sent by Parliament. It's just that it cannot be the entire 400 members to us. It's us who have been delegated to do this. But we want to take this opportunity and appreciate your effort. And I want to officially close our oversight visit, members. We have closed.
Thank you, Chair, and to indicate that food is next door.